I'm Aleece Fosnight. I'm super excited to be here. We're going to chat a little bit about testosterone in women in particular. And very much as Dr. Perlman just said, it isn't just about the testosterone, it is also about nutrition. Who in the room is actually prescribing testosterone to female identified individuals? Cool. Okay. So hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to be super excited to start prescribing them as well. Okay, these are my disclosures. These are our objectives. So again, talking about testosterone use in our assigned female at birth individuals. Who knew that female identified individuals had more testosterone in their body than they did estrogen? Okay, there's a few people, right? So when we take into consideration the units of measure when we're looking at testosterone, right, which is measured in nanograms per deciliter, but estrogen, estradiol, is measured in picograms per milliliter. When you adjust for that, you can see on this graph that in the 30s, women are going to have close to 500 picograms per milliliter, where they have close to 100 on average in those estradiol levels. And you can see there's a significant decline that happens in those late 30s into the early 40s. And then for estradiol, you're going to see a little bit more of that decline in the mid 40s to late 40s. Where does testosterone come from in our assigned female at birth individuals? 25 to 30% in the ovaries, 25 to 30% in the adrenals, and then about half of it is actually converted in the periphery. So what would be some reasons for somebody that has ovaries for them to have low testosterone? So again, ovarian function decline, that can be secondary to menopause. This could be any of your cancer treatments, especially with breast cancer treatments, increased sex hormone binding globulin. So right, that's that protein that binds to testosterone and transports it where it needs to go. And when you have a whole bunch of that protein, it's going to gobble it up. That is pretty much notably where we see individuals that are on combined oral contraceptives, and how many women in their late teens, early 20s are on some sort of oral contraceptive. A whole heck of a lot of them. What about some chronic inflammation? Maybe they have rheumatoid arthritis, or there are diabetic patients. Specific medications in particular are opioids or anti-androgens. What are our dermatologists prescribing to our younger folks who are complaining about acne? Spironolactone, right? That's going to be a huge one that's going to decline that total testosterone. Addison's disease, disordered eating. We're going to see this with the changes in that hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, where that's going to be shut down. And then sleep disorders, so your obstructive sleep apnea. We're going to see this in terms of changes in those REM cycles where testosterone loves to replenish. And then chronic stress. So increased cortisol levels is going to diminish and suppress those testosterone levels as well. So what are your patients going to come into the office telling you? A lot of them are going to say maybe they have some decreased sexual desire. Maybe they're more fatigued than they used to be. They're going to see some diminished sense of well-being. They will say to you, I just don't feel like myself again. And that is actually a new symptom that is now listed on the menopause symptoms, is literally not feeling like myself again. So again, these patients are coming in and they're very frustrated. They're having loss of motivation. So even though they are making changes in their diet, they're trying to lift heavier, they are just so motivated, less motivated because they're not seeing any improvements or changes. They may have, again, unexplained fatigue here, some flat affect, or even some decreased or lowered mood. Genitourinary, who knew that there was testosterone receptors in the genitourinary tract? Anybody read the new AUA guidelines that just came out on GSM that happened in April of 2025? So there is testosterone receptors in the clitoris and the vestibule and the anterior vaginal wall. So those are going to be really important. And then you can see the last three here. We don't have as much data to support this, but this is clinically what I see in my office. We see a lot of muscle loss in these women. They will say, I've been lifting the same amount that I have been for years, and I'm just not seeing the results, or I'm seeing less results that go along with it. Changes in that body composition, especially in that central adiposity, and then sleep disturbances as well. So how do we evaluate these individuals? So a lot of the societies and guidelines that we have out there will say you really only want to do this for your symptomatic patients. You're not just going to be checking everybody for this. But if we do check them, you're going to look at blood serum levels. We do not want to check urine metabolites or saliva metabolites either. They are not FDA approved for this evaluation. So what are you going to check for them? Specifically, a total testosterone, a sex hormone binding globulin. And I'm going to show you my little calculator that I like to use from this International Society for the Study of Aging Men to really help get you more of the calculated free testosterone. The free testosterone that you have in your lab studies does not take into consideration that sex hormone binding globulin, but it's a really important one. And then here are going to be some of the other considerations, especially if you're thinking about other causes of low testosterone in women. So this is a calculator that I use. It's really simple. Just go to the website. I love doing this with my patients. My patients are very visual. They want to be able to see and why is this happening, what is actually going on. So you can pop their albumin in there if you have it. If not, it's a standard 4.3. You pop their sex hormone binding globulin in there, their total testosterone, and then you hit the little calculate button. And down here, it's going to give you that free testosterone. Now, for our female identified patients, this is kind of the gold standard of what we're looking at, especially for our ISWISH guidelines, which is the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health. They're looking at 0.6 to 0.8 in those nanograms per deciliter. So you can see somebody who has 18, what is that lab reference range going to come back saying? That it's normal, right? And if you look at my lab values, they say normal is anywhere from 0 to 70. Zero is normal, right? So not having testosterone is a concern. All right, so what are we going to do? Do we have any options for our female identified individuals? We do not. Does anybody know in the world where testosterone is approved for women? Australia. That's the one that's been the longest. We have 2 new ones, New Zealand and South Africa, in the past 6 months. So again, it's not widely used, but Androfem is the product that they have there. So what we want to do is we want to use 1/10 of the dose of what we're typically using for our assigned male at birth individuals. So you're thinking around 2 milligrams to 7 milligrams of testosterone on a daily basis. Transdermal is going to be your best option. And again, these are what we see in the guidelines. So you can use a 1% testosterone gel. I love the tubes of testosterone. It's easy to measure out. What my patients do is they will write the date that they open up that tube and say, I want it to last 2 weeks for them. They'll know a week in that they have to be halfway through that tube. Typically, we're talking about pea size amounts. And I love my patients because they're like English pea, plump pea, freeze-dried pea. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just a pea size amount. So I'll get my hand sanitizer out and be able to pump a little bit into my hand to give them an idea of what that actually looks like. But if that's going to be a struggle, or you have that person who's like, I need it so precise, you can actually dispense it in or have them insert that tube into like a 5 ml Lurolux syringe. Just be careful though, right? It's an alcohol base. So you want to make sure that the cap is on there so it doesn't evaporate. You want to be able to apply it to the thighs first thing in the morning. Is going to be the best way to do it. Now, again, insurance doesn't cover this. So what is our trick in order to get this covered or to decrease the cost? We use a GoodRx savings card. Typically, CVS and Walgreens, I don't have any association with them, are going to be your best bet. It's going to be dispensed in a 30-tube box, right? This is typically how you would write this for your male-identified patients, where they're using a tube over the course of 1 to 2 days. But these women are going to get this whole box of 30 tubes, and a tube is going to last them about 2 weeks. So it's going to last them a whole month. That cost is anywhere from $100 to $125 or $3 to $4 a tube. So pretty cost effective when you think about it. But you could use any 1% gel too. But again, remind them that insurance isn't going to cover it. Now, a lot of my patients will come in and they'll say, well, can't I just do an injection? And I'd be like, yes, but, right? The dosage that we have is just way too high. So your cypionate, anthenate is going to come in 100, right, or 200 milligrams per ml. And so they would be needing to inject a 0.05 or a 0.01. And who wants to really measure that out on one of those syringes? So I find that compounding that is going to be one of your better options. But again, it's going to be some mixed reviews, but it's the best options that we have. And then other subcutaneous would be your hormonal pellets. You could do Testapel. They're going to spend about $100 per pellet for that, and insurance may or may not cover the cost of the insertion. If you have options for compounded pellets too, that can be another great option for them as well. I try to avoid intramuscular injections for these patients and kind of really all of my patients that are on testosterone that like to do injections, so that you kind of narrow that therapeutic window and getting more of those rolling hills versus those peaks and valleys. We do have to have some considerations. So thinking about transference to children and partners, right? If these are our late 30, early 40 individuals, they may have little kids at home, and we're going to think about that transference to them. That's why I like the inner thigh and avoiding any of the upper arm. A lot of patients will go or patients want to hug you or whatever else, or hug their friends. And so you want to make sure that they avoid that transference. You have to let them know that it can take 3 to 6 months. I don't have a magic wand to just wave over top of them and make this all happen within 2 weeks. So, and you're slowly increasing that, right? That person's numbers that we saw earlier were pretty low. So I'm going to slowly, strategically level them up over time. Remind them of the off-label and out-of-pocket costs. There can be some common side effects, so increased hair growth at the site of application, so they might get some fuzzy thighs, but most people are okay with that. Increased oil production, so remind them of acne, and then they want to use spironolactone to get rid of the acne, and I'm like, oh no, we're causing a mess here. It could cause some headache or mood changes if they're moving too fast on increasing that testosterone. And then the big thing too, we don't want to get them to super physiological levels. I have a ton of patients that come to my office that their testosterone is 200, 300, 400, and they are not on this for gender affirming reasons for masculinization. We have to remember that clitoromegaly and voice deepening are permanent structures. So even if they stop the testosterone, that's not necessarily going to go away. If you are more interested in this, ISWISH, again, the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health, came out with practice guidelines a couple of years ago, specifically for hypoactive sexual desire disorder in women. And if this is something that you're interested, would definitely encourage you to check out their website and organization. Thank you.